Egodi's frustration grew faster than weeds in rainy season. She could not understand why the world favored one child and ignored another. She expected Raphael to come back with money, not excuses. She believed he should be living in a big house already, driving a fancy car, sending her gifts, and making her feel important like Emenike did. She wanted more attention from neighbors, not pity. Once upon a time, in a peaceful village surrounded by green trees, wide farmland, quiet footpaths, and smiling faces, there lived a woman named Egodi. People in that community knew her very well because she talked loudly, walked boldly, and liked attention. She had 3 children, and each one carried a different story in her heart. Her first son was Emenike, a calm young man with gentle eyes and a quiet spirit. Her second son was Raphael, a restless boy who always wanted more than he had. Her last child was Uloma, a sweet girl with a soft voice and a caring spirit. Egodi loved being called Mama Emenike. She enjoyed hearing her name whispered in admiration. She loved the respect, the greetings, the long looks from other women during village meetings. She walked with her head raised high, her shoulders straight, her palms swinging gently like a queen moving across her kingdom. Every morning, she stood outside her beautiful compound, breathing fresh air, checking her wrappers, adjusting her blouse, and waiting for people to pass by so she could smile, wave, or speak proudly about her blessings. Her pride did not begin suddenly. It started many years earlier when Emenike, her first son, left the village for the city in search of a better life. At that time, he had nothing except a small bag, a cheap pair of shoes, and faith in his heart. He promised his mother that he would work hard and return home with success. Egodi cried that day, holding him tightly, praying that he would survive the harsh world ahead. She watched him walk away, and something inside her whispered that this son carried something special. Life in the city was not easy for Emenike. He slept in one room with 3 other young men who also came from distant villages. He woke up early every day, sweeping workshops, helping carpenters, carrying heavy woods and running errands. Sometimes he walked long distances under hot sun just to save transport money. His clothes were old, his slippers were weak, and food was never enough. But he refused to complain. He believed that suffering was part of the journey. After some time, a man introduced him to a building materials shop. The owner needed someone honest, strong and respectful to pack cement, load sand, arrange iron rods, and watch the store when he traveled. When the owner saw Emenike's discipline, he employed him immediately. Emenike treated that shop like his own. He arrived before everyone, cleaned every corner, organized items neatly, served customers with a smile, calculated price correctly, and never stole a single naira. He worked with his heart and not just his hands. Slowly, people began trusting him. Builders, landlords, engineers, block molders, and truck drivers liked coming to that shop because of him. He recommended good products, advised them wisely, and prayed for them before they left. His kindness attracted blessings. Business increased, profits grew, and soon the owner promoted him. Months passed, and Emenike saved little by little. He denied himself many things so he could support his family. He remembered the mother who raised him, the siblings depending on him, and the village that believed in him. One evening, he called Egodi and told her that something good was coming. She screamed with excitement. waking up neighbors, thanking God loudly. She danced around her compound, clapping her hands and singing praises. She told everyone that her son was shining in the city and greater things were on the way. Later, Emenike opened his own building materials business. He rented a shop, bought bags of cement, iron rods, roofing sheets, nails, paints, plumbing tools, tiles, and gravel. He employed boys from humble home and paid them fairly. He treated them like brothers. He also employed one girl to handle receipts and record sales so she could support her family. Many customers stopped buying from bigger shops because Emenike offered honesty and peace of mind. Little by little, the shop expanded, and soon he opened branches in 2 other locations. His success was loud, but his humility remained quiet. With time, money began to enter his account steadily. He paid Raphael's school fees without complaining. He bought textbooks, shoes, and food items for his younger brother. He also supported Uloma, ensuring she had everything she needed in school. He never bragged or expected praise. He believed that family must lift one another up. Egodi's life changed completely because of him. He sent her wrappers, necklaces, shoes, perfumes, and handbags. He supplied rice, beans, chicken, oil, and other food items every month. He wanted her to live like a woman who never lacked anything. He planned every detail carefully, hoping she would feel joy every day. The biggest surprise came when he built a house for her. That project shook the entire village. The building had a strong gate, shining walls, wide windows, a tiled floor, painted rooms, and a sitting room filled with comfortable chairs. Outside, flowers stretched beautifully, dancing whenever the wind passed. People walking by always slowed down to admire it. The building looked like something from a rich neighborhood in the city, not a small village like theirs. On the day he handed Egodi the house keys, villagers gathered. Women covered their mouths in shock. Men nodded with respect. Children whispered loudly. Egodi cried tears of joy, rolling on the floor, thanking God. She hugged her son, kissed his hands, and shouted everywhere that her life had changed forever. From that moment, she became a different woman. She began acting like royalty. She never sat with women she used to sit with before. She refused to visit old friends unless they visited her or invited her with respect. She started wearing expensive clothes, gold earrings, high-heeled shoes, and perfumed that filled entire rooms. Whenever she walked to the market, people turned their heads. Some admired her, others became jealous, but she did not care. She enjoyed the attention. During village meetings, she spoke loudly and confidently. She told stories about city life even though she lived in the village. She bragged about Emenike's business, his cars, his shops, the contracts he signed, and how other businessmen feared him. She said her son was the kind of man every mother prayed for. She repeated that none of her children would ever suffer as long as Emenike lived. Sometimes, she sat under a mango tree with her friends, eating roasted corn or groundnuts while gossiping. She told them that God loved her more than others. She laughed at other women whose children were struggling. She believed she was better than them. Her pride grew like a tall tree spreading its branches. Meanwhile, Emenike continued working hard in the city. He woke up early, prayed, and went to his shops. He created relationships with contractors, banks, estate developers, architects, and cement suppliers. He attended business meetings, signed agreements, and learned how to manage money wisely. He respected older businessmen and mentored young ones. He avoided bad friends, alcohol, gambling, and dangerous shortcuts. He trusted God and believed in honesty. Whenever he visited the village, news spread quickly. Children ran to the road to welcome him. Women stared from their doorways. Men stopped their conversations. People admired the clean clothes, the shining shoes, the gentle smile, and the kind words he shared. He never ignored anyone. Egode always prepared a feast whenever he returned. She cooked jollof rice, pounded yam, pepper soup, stew, fried plantain, and chicken. Neighbors gathered to celebrate him. Sometimes she would stand beside him, placing her hand on his shoulder proudly, introducing him again and again as if everyone did not already know him. She saw him as her golden crown. But her pride began to blind her. She forgot that blessings should bring humility. She started talking down on Raphael secretly. She compared him with Emenike every time he failed at something. She believed that only firstborns mattered and secondborns existed to support them. She did not hide her thought. She praised Emenike openly while ignoring or scolding Raphael, not realizing the danger it caused. Uloma, however, admired her elder brother for a different reason. She loved his humility, his patience, and his devotion to the family. She respected him deeply and prayed that God would continue to bless him. She sometimes wished her mother would behave with more grace, but she remained silent to avoid trouble. In the village, rumors spread quickly. Some people said Egodi was becoming too proud. Others defended her, saying she deserved happiness because she suffered in the past. Some wished their children would become like Emenike. Others secretly prayed that his success would fall so they could gossip. Every community carried mixed feelings, and this one was no different. Despite everything, Emenike remained focused. He continued sending money home, fulfilling every family need. He reminded Raphael to study hard. He encouraged Doloma to pursue her dreams. He thanked his mother for her prayers and support, unaware that her heart was slowly shifting into dangerous territory. Every night, Egodi lay on her soft bed inside the beautiful house and smiled at the ceiling. She believed life had finally chosen her. She dreamed of greater things, bigger celebrations, more cars, more clothes, and more attention. She whispered to herself that nothing could ever go wrong because her son was unstoppable. She did not know that life could change in seconds. She did not know that pride could destroy everything. She did not know that her choice would shape the future in a painful way. She did not know that love could turn into hatred and blessings could turn into regret. But for now, she enjoyed her glory, believing that tomorrow would look exactly like today. And that was how her story began. A new season started in Egodi's family after Raphael completed his education. He came back to the village with a certificate in his hand, hope in his eyes, and big dreams filling his heart. He believed life would open its doors immediately. He imagined companies calling him, managers welcoming him, offices waiting for him, and money entering his account easily. He thought success would follow him the same way it followed his elder brother. He walked around confidently, smiling proudly, believing the world was ready for him. But life had a different plan. Raphael traveled to the city and began searching for work. He visited small shops, private firms, government offices, companies at construction sites, and business centers. He submitted applications everywhere he went. He greeted people politely, explained his qualifications, and begged for an opportunity. He sat in waiting areas until his legs became stiff. He stood in queues under hot sun until sweat covered his body. He tried again the next day, and the next, and the next, but no employer called him, not even one. Every rejection weakened his spirit. His eyes lost brightness. His voice became quieter. His steps slowed down. He felt invisible in a world that celebrated success loudly. He watched his friends start working, and he wondered why God kept ignoring him. He questioned everything he believed before. After many weeks in the city, Raphael returned home with disappointment written all over his face. He dropped his bag on the floor, sat quietly, and stared into space. His mother asked how his trip went, and he shook his head slowly. He could not speak. Silence explained everything. Ego did not like silence. She wanted answers immediately. She wanted to hear good news. She wanted another success story to brag about. When she discovered the truth, something inside her cracked. She did not comfort her son gently. Instead, she felt insulted. She believed Raphael's failure made her look weak in front of other women. Days continued passing like moving clouds. Raphael woke up each morning with confusion swallowing him. He sat under trees, walked around aimlessly, slept too much, and avoided visitors. He spent long hours thinking about his life, wondering why nothing worked for him. He envied people who had direction. He wanted progress, but did not know where to start again. Sometimes he blamed the village. Other times he blamed the economy. Some days he blamed his certificate, but mostly he blamed fate. He felt like life cheated him. He believed he deserved greatness without effort because his brother achieved it. He expected blessings to flow automatically simply because he shared the same blood with Emenike. Ego's frustration grew faster than weeds in rainy season. She could not understand why the world favored one child and ignored another. She expected Raphael to come back with money, not excuses. She believed he should be living in a big house already, driving a fancy car, sending her gifts, and making her feel important like Emenike did. She wanted more attention from neighbors, not pity. Whenever she saw Raphael sitting idly, she became irritated. She wondered why he was not doing something productive. She reminded him constantly that he was a man, not a helpless child. She talked about responsibility every day. She pointed out how other mothers were praising their sons in different towns. Raphael listened, but anger began rising in his heart. He did not enjoy being compared to Emenike. He felt overshadowed, forgotten, and pushed aside. He believed life only respected firstborns. He started seeing his older brother's success as a threat, not inspiration. He loved Emenike, but jealousy slowly began burning inside him like hidden fire waiting for wind. Meanwhile, Emenike continued paying house bills, feeding everyone, and sending monthly money. He believed family support was normal. He never thought his help could create tension. He did not know how much pressure Raphael felt whenever people praised him loudly in their mother's presence. He did not notice the sadness in Raphael's eyes whenever success stories filled the air. Raphael became tired of hearing Emenike's name every minute. He pretended to smile whenever their mother bragged about her firstborn. But inside his heart, he felt small like a forgotten seed under heavy soil. He wanted his own spotlight, applause, celebration, and respect. He wanted villagers to mention his name too. He wanted to be seen. The village did not make things easier. People talked. People compared. People judged. Whenever Raphael walked to the market, some women whispered quietly. Whenever he passed a group of men relaxing under trees, they looked at him with pity. Some offered advice. Others shook their heads slowly. Their words cut his soul like sharp knives. Why is he not working yet? Is he not educated? Maybe he is lazy. Or maybe his certificate is fake. Maybe he has bad luck. Raphael heard everything, even when they thought he didn't. He carried those painful words home like heavy stones inside his chest. He wished he could run away from everyone, disappear somewhere no one knew him. One evening, Raphael sat alone outside, staring at the sky. Stars spread across the darkness like bright promises. He wondered why promises never reached him. He placed his hands on his face and cried quietly, hoping nobody would see him. But Egodi saw him through the window. She did not feel sympathy. Instead, she felt bitterness. She believed Raphael was embarrassing her by failing. She began asking herself questions that poisoned her heart. Why must Emenike carry all the glory? Why did God bless only one child? Why did Raphael return empty-handed? Why should I depend only on one son forever? The more she questioned, the more envy entered her heart. She forgot the years Emenike struggled. She ignored the sacrifices he made. She did not remember the small beginnings. She only saw the shining ending and wanted Raphael to reach there without walking the journey. Her jealousy grew slowly but powerfully, like a disease spreading through the veins. At first, she blamed her life. Then she blamed destiny. After some time, she blamed God. Eventually, she became angry with Emenike. Even though he did nothing wrong, she convinced herself that blessings should not belong to only one child. She believed success was supposed to be shared equally. Instead of thanking God for the son who changed her life, she began resenting him. She looked at the house he built, and instead of gratitude, she felt discomfort. She saw the clothes he bought and felt insulted. She heard his name and became irritated. She watched Raphael, and her heart filled with pity and shame. Jealousy does not grow quietly forever. It begins affecting actions, words, thoughts, and decisions. Egodi stopped celebrating Emenike the way she used to. She stopped telling stories about him proudly. She stopped smiling when people complimented him. She even stopped praying for him. She wanted God to shift blessings to Raphael. She wanted the second son to rise higher, even if it meant the first son failing. Raphael noticed his mother's sudden change. Instead of feeling alarmed, he felt relieved. He believed she finally understood him. He thought she was beginning to support him emotionally. He did not realize that her new behavior came from darkness, not love. One afternoon, Raphael sat beside his mother and said softly, "Mama, maybe I am cursed. I am cursed. I feel it." Egodi held his hand gently, looked into his sad eyes, and gave the wrong answer. She replied, "My son, your brother is the one collecting everything meant for you." Those words planted a poisonous seed in Raphael's heart. From that moment, resentment became a partner in his thoughts. He started believing Emenike was responsible for his lack of success. He started feeling like a victim. He began thinking life owed him something. He stopped appreciating everything Emenike had done for him in the past. He stopped praying sincerely. He stopped trying. He expected miracles to appear without effort. Egodi continued watering the seed of bitterness. She spoke negatively about Emenike whenever Raphael was around. She complained about how life treated them unfairly. She said God made a mistake. She encouraged Raphael to wait for his own breakthrough, even though he was doing nothing to work towards it. Soon, both mother and son carried silent anger toward Emenike. They did not speak about it openly, but their hearts changed. Love was still there, but it was covered with jealousy. Respect remained, but it was weakening daily. They smiled whenever Emenike called, but inside, their smiles were fake. Uloma sensed the shift. She noticed her mother's tone whenever someone mentioned Emenike. She saw Raphael's bitterness growing. She became worried, but she kept quiet to avoid trouble. She prayed secretly for peace to return because she loved her brothers equally. Meanwhile, Emenike stayed unaware. He continued working hard in the city. He continued sending money. believing everything was fine. He had no idea that a storm was forming in the hearts of those he loved most. And while jealousy continued spreading, destiny prepared a painful journey ahead, one that would change every life connected to that family. Night slowly covered the village like a dark blanket. Crickets sang loudly, frogs croaked near quiet footpaths, and the moon shone softly through the clouds. Most families were already sleeping, but Egodi could not close her eyes. She sat alone on her bed, breathing heavily, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Raphael's struggles. Every painful memory returned to her mind. His sad eyes, his tired voice, his hopeless silence. Instead of comforting her, those thoughts filled her with anger. She stood up, walked to her window, and looked outside. The compound was calm, and the stars looked peaceful, but her heart was boiling. She believed God was ignoring her prayers. She believed destiny was treating her unfairly. She believed something needed to change, even if it meant breaking every rule. Earlier that day, she overheard two women whispering about a man who performed charms for desperate people. They said he lived far away, deep inside a thick forest outside another town. According to them, he had powers that could change lives quickly. They said people traveled from distant places to seek his help. Egodi did not ask questions. She listened quietly and carried the information home like a dangerous secret. Now, in the middle of the night, she walked slowly to her wardrobe, opened a small drawer, and removed money she had been saving. Her hand shook while counting it. She placed the money inside her wrapper, tied it firmly around her waist, and covered herself with a long black shawl. She looked around again to be sure that nobody was watching. Raphael and Oloma were sleeping deeply. Even birds resting on trees outside did not notice her movements. Egodi stepped outside carefully and locked the door gently to avoid making noise. The night breeze brushed her skin and she shivered slightly. She began walking out of the compound, looking over her shoulder repeatedly. Every sound frightened her. Leaves moving, dogs barking far away, footsteps of late-night travelers. Everything felt suspicious. She reached the main road and waited. After some time, a motorcycle approached slowly from a distance. The rider stopped beside her and asked where she was going at this strange hour. Egodi lied and said she was visiting a sick relative. The rider did not doubt her. He told her to climb quickly. She sat behind him, holding tightly as they moved into the darkness. The road felt endless. Tall trees stood like shadows on both sides. The moonlight disappeared behind thick clouds, making the journey even scarier. Cold wind clapped Egodi's face, but she refused to turn back. Her heart beat fast, but she convinced herself that she was doing the right thing. She believed Raphael's future depended on that decision. After a long ride, the motorcycle stopped at a lonely junction. The rider pointed toward a narrow bush path and said she should continue on her foot. Egodi paid him and watched him drive away until his tail light disappeared. She swallowed hard, breathed deeply, and began walking into the darkness. The narrow path twisted through tall grass and silent trees. Insects buzzed around her ears. Her slippers sank into soft soil. Strange sounds echoed from different directions. At one point, she almost turned back, but she remembered Raphael's sad face and continued walking. She believed suffering would end that night. After some minutes, she saw a dim lantern light ahead. Her heart jumped. She moved closer slowly. Soon, she reached a small clearing where an old wooden building stood alone. Smoke rose from behind it, and a faint smell of burning herbs filled the air. It looked like a place people avoided during the day. Egodi knocked on the door with trembling hands. A deep voice from inside told her to enter. She pushed the door gently and stepped in. The room was dark, except for a lamp sitting on a short table. Strange symbols were drawn on the walls. Dried animal skins hung from ropes, and clay pots sat on the floor. The air felt heavy, like something unseen was watching. A tall, skinny man with long grey hair stood in the corner. His eyes were sharp and cold, like someone who could see through people. Egodu looked down immediately. She did not want to meet his gaze. She greeted him softly, but he did not respond. Instead, he walked closer, studying her face with curiosity. Without asking, he said, "You came because your heart is troubled." His voice sounded like wind passing through dry leaves. Egodu nodded quickly. She did not expect him to know everything, but his words made her believe he truly had powers. She knelt down immediately and placed both hands on the ground. She explained everything: Raphael's frustration, job rejections, sadness, shame, and helplessness. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she spoke. She said she could not continue living like that. She said she wanted Raphael to rise higher than everyone else. She wanted him to be noticed, respected, and celebrated. She wanted success to enter her family through him. Then she mentioned Emenike. Her voice changed instantly. She spoke with anger, jealousy, bitterness, and envy. She said her first son had taken all the blessings. She said life was unfair because one child enjoyed plenty while another suffered completely. She said she wanted the situation to change. She said she wanted Raphael to shine more than Emenike. She wanted the younger son to become the star, even if it meant destroying the older one. The witch doctor did not look surprised. He listened silently, nodding slowly. When she finished talking, he walked to a wooden box, opened it, and removed a small brown calabash wrapped in red cloth. He returned to her and placed it in front of her. Egodu stared at it with fear. She did not know what was inside, but she could feel strong energy around it. He told her calmly, "If you use this, everything belonging to the one you hate will dry up." Egodu swallowed hard. He continued speaking. His business will fall. His customers will disappear. His helpers will run away. His money will scatter. His life will reverse. Nothing he touches will succeed. Egodu closed her eyes for a moment, imagining Raphael rising while Emenike fell. That picture made her heart beat faster. She believed she was fighting for her child. She believed she was correcting injustice. She believed she was being a good mother. The witch doctor warned her that once the charm was used, there would be no turning back. He told her the destruction would be deep, painful, and unstoppable. He told her a price would be paid eventually, but Egodu ignored everything. Her desperation blinded her. She asked how much it cost. She removed the money from her wrapper and placed it on the ground. The witch doctor collected it without counting. He whispered strange words into the calabash, blew smoke over it, and tied a string around it. Then he handed it to her with strict instruction. She should pour the powder inside it at a road junction before sunrise and mention Emenike's name 3 times. After that, she must walk away without looking back. Egodu thanked him, lifted the calabash carefully, and stood up. She walked out of the room with shaky legs. The night felt colder than before. The forest sounded louder and more dangerous. She walked back to the junction where the motorcycle dropped her earlier. She placed the calabash on the ground, opened it, and poured the powder slowly. She whispered Emenike's name 3 times, just as she was told. Then she walked away quickly, afraid something unseen might appear. When she reached the main road, another motorcycle arrived like it had been waiting. She climbed quietly, and the rider took her back to the village. She entered her compound quietly, opened the door softly, and returned to her bed. She lay down, staring into darkness, listening to her heartbeat. Fear filled her mind, but she tried to silence it with hope for Raphael. Morning arrived, bright and peaceful, but something invisible had already changed. In the city, Emenike woke up normally. He prayed, dressed neatly, and went to his shop. He did not suspect anything, but before noon, trouble began. A truck carrying cement for him broke down suddenly. Customers who already ordered materials cancelled without explanation. Heavy rain destroyed some items outside the shop. Workers argued among themselves and refused to continue. Things that never went wrong before started failing one after another. The next day, suppliers refused to release goods. Payment from completed jobs did not enter his account. A company that promised partnership suddenly chose someone else. Rumors started spreading that his business was no longer reliable. People who respected him began avoiding him. Every good thing turned into disappointment overnight. He became confused. He checked everything carefully. He prayed harder. He fasted. He cried. He even visited the hospital to check if he was okay. Nothing made sense. Success that took years to build collapsed like sandcastle facing strong waves. He did not know that his own mother cost everything. Meanwhile, Egodi walked around the village smiling. She believed the charm was working. She believed Raphael's breakthrough was coming soon. She acted like nothing had happened. She cooked, laughed, gossiped, and slept peacefully. She did not feel guilt. She did not feel shame. She did not feel fear. She felt powerful. But evil does not give blessings. It only gives destruction. And the destruction had only begun. Morning arrived like every other day in the city, but trouble continued waiting for Emenike the moment he opened his eyes. He prayed, took a deep breath, and prepared for work, hoping the new day would bring good news. He stepped outside, looked at the sky, and encouraged himself quietly. He believed every challenge had an ending. He believed God would not forget him forever. When he reached his first shop, he found a crowd gathered in front of it. Thick smoke covered the air. Firefighters struggled with hoses, spraying water desperately. People whispered loudly. Some held their heads. Others shook their shoulders helplessly. His heart almost stopped when he saw the burning walls. His shop, his dream, his hard work, everything was burning inside the building. Flames swallowed bags of cement. Iron rods melted like candle wax. Roofing sheets bent into strange shapes. Paint buckets exploded loudly. Smoke entered the sky like a dark warning. Workers cried because their salaries were gone. Customers blamed him for delaying their projects. Phones kept ringing, but he could not speak. His legs became weak, and he slowly sat on the roadside, watching his life turn into ashes. After hours of struggle, the fire died, leaving a painful silence behind. The smell of smoke filled the street. People slowly walked away, leaving him alone with a broken heart. He did not know what caused the fire, but deep inside, he felt something spiritual pushed it. He held his head with both hands and begged God for strength to continue. 2 days later, things got worse. One of his trucks, filled with building materials for a customer, stopped suddenly in the middle of the road. The driver tried to restart it, but it refused to move. Mechanics checked everything but found no explanation. They said the engine was fine, yet it refused to start. They called it strange. The truck remained there for days, blocking traffic, embarrassing him, and building angry complaints. While he was trying to solve that problem, another phone call came. His second truck had lost its brakes and crashed into a fence. Nobody died, but the repair cost was high. The owner of the damaged fence demanded compensation immediately. Emenike promised to pay, even though he did not know how. As days passed, Customers stopped calling. Suppliers refused sending goods unless he paid cash upfront. Some even pretended not to know him anymore. Former business partners claimed they were too busy to meet him. People who once greeted him cheerfully now ignored him completely. Rumors filled the streets, saying his business was finished. Nobody wanted to associate with someone fallen. He went to the bank, hoping to withdraw money, but his account balance shocked him. Almost everything was gone. Some transactions he never approved had taken place. Large sums disappeared mysteriously. He asked questions, but nobody gave clear answers. He felt like invisible hands were draining his life savings. Suddenly, the landlord sent a letter asking him to vacate one shop branch because he could no longer pay rent. The bank requested immediate loan payment. Workers resigned because they feared losing their time working for a sinking business. Even the shop assistants he once supported with food and clothing began giving excuses to avoid showing up. Every evening, he sat alone, remembering the long journey that had brought him success. He remembered the small room he once shared with other young men. He remembered the first day he worked in the shop as a cleaner. He remembered how God lifted him step by step. Now, he could not understand why things were collapsing. He cried privately. He begged heaven for mercy. He prayed until his voice cracked. He read scriptures. He fasted. He spoke positive words. He tried encouraging himself, but every new morning brought fresh problems. Soon, his home also changed. His landlord increased rent. Electricity bills piled up. Water bills doubled. Food finished quickly. He sold his television. Later, he sold his sofa set. Then, he sold his refrigerator. Each item carried memories of hard work, but survival became more important than comfort. One night, he sat on the floor, looking at 4 empty walls. For the first time, he felt truly alone. He wished someone would knock on his door and encourage him, but nobody came. He realized that people love success, not struggle. After weeks of battling debts and shame, Emenike made a heartbreaking decision. He would return home. The city no longer wanted him. His business was gone. His savings had disappeared. Every opportunity had closed like locked doors. He packed his remaining clothes into a small bag, took one last look around, and stepped outside. He walked to the bus station slowly, feeling heavy inside. He bought a ticket and entered the bus quietly. While traveling, he stared out of the window, watching buildings disappear behind him. He did not know what the village would think of him. He did not know how his mother would react. He did not know what the future held. He only knew he needed rest. When the vehicle reached the village, dust rose behind it. Birds sang on nearby trees. Children played beside the road. Old women carried vegetables home. Everything looked peaceful, but his heart was not. He carried a story he never expected to tell. Some villagers recognized him immediately. Instead of smiling proudly like before, they stared with confusion. His clothes looked older. His face looked tired. His steps looked weak. The confident man they once admired now looked like someone searching for direction. They whispered among themselves, but he ignored them. He entered his mother's compound slowly. Raphael and Oloma were seated outside. When they saw him, they froze. Raphael frowned slightly, surprised and confused at the same time. Oloma stood up quickly, ran to him, and hugged him tightly. She felt his pain immediately. His body felt lighter, like someone carrying too much sadness. Egodi came out of the house after hearing voices. When she saw her first son standing there with a small bag, she did not hug him. She did not ask what happened. She did not welcome him with joy. Instead, she folded her arms, raised her chin, and stared at him like a stranger. He greeted her politely, but she did not answer. She did not smile. She asked why he came home unannounced. He explained that business was not moving well, so he decided to rest in the village. Instead of comforting him, she laughed bitterly and said, "So you have finally joined the poor." Those words pierced his heart like a sharp knife. He stood there quietly, trying to hold back tears. He did not expect celebration, but he did not expect humiliation either. The same mother he once honored now treated him like a burden. Days slowly passed. Emenike searched for ways to support himself. He refused to depend on anyone. He walked around the village, asking builders if they needed help. Some recognized him but pretended not to remember. Others wondered what happened to his wealth. He did not explain. He simply requested work, even if it paid little. Eventually, a building contractor agreed to employ him. His job was molding blocks, carrying sand, fetching water, and arranging tools. It was hard labor, but he accepted it humbly. Sun burned his skin, dust entered his eyes, and sweat soaked his clothes daily. His hands became rough again, but he remained grateful for small income. Whenever villagers passed, they stopped to stare. Some felt pity, others laughed secretly. Some pointed fingers and said, "Life humbled him." Many forgot everything he once did for them. People he helped in the past now crossed the road to avoid greeting him. Each evening, he returned home tired, dirty and hungry. When he entered the compound, his mother insulted him loudly. She called him a failure, a disgrace, a useless man. She mocked him in front of neighbors. She said he brought shame into her life. She asked why he could not be like Raphael. She complained that feeding him was a waste of food. Emenike listened quietly. He never replied. He never raised his voice. He never defended himself. He believed silence was safer than argument. He respected motherhood, even when it hurt deeply. Sometimes he cried in private. Sometimes he stared at the sky and wondered if God still remembered him. Sometimes he wished he never returned to the village, but he continued waking up each morning, determined to keep moving. He refused to give up completely. Uloma remained his only comfort. She cooked for him secretly, washed his clothes quietly, and encouraged him gently. She reminded him that God never sleeps. She believed his story was not finished. She prayed for him every night, asking heaven to restore him. Raphael watched from a distance. He did not help or support his brother. Instead, he felt satisfied seeing him suffer. Jealousy that grew slowly had now become stronger. Instead of thanking him for everything he did in the past, Raphael saw his downfall as a blessing. He believed it was finally his turn to shine. But destiny keeps records. Destiny waits. Destiny never forgets. Meanwhile, Egodi continued behaving like a judge passing punishments. She forgot the house he built, the school fees he paid, the food he supplied, the clothes he bought, and the joy he brought. She did not remember the sacrifices. She only saw the present struggle and used it to destroy him emotionally. Every insult pushed him deeper into silence. Every mockery made him weaker. Every harsh word became a wound inside his heart. One morning, they woke up and found out that Raphael had already disappeared quietly. He disappeared without telling anyone his plans. He packed a small bag, wore his best shirt, and walked to the main road. When neighbors asked where he was going, he smiled proudly and said he was going to look for answers. He waved at them, entered a bus heading toward the city, and left without looking back. Uloma cried after he left, praying he would return with good news. Egodi believed her second son would finally prove himself. She told everyone that Raphael was different and destiny would favor him. He convinced herself that blessings were waiting somewhere for him. She did not know what journey he was starting. She did not know the price waiting ahead. When Raphael reached the city, he stayed with a childhood friend for a few days. He talked about his struggles, his mother's frustration, and his desire to become rich immediately. That friend introduced him to a new faces, men who dressed well, spoke confidently, drove shiny cars, and acted like life belonged to them. Raphael admired everything about them. He wanted their lifestyle. He wanted the respect they received. He wanted people staring at him the same way. Those men welcomed him easily because they saw desperation in his eyes. They promised him fast money, fast cars, fast houses, and fast glory. They told him success never waited for lazy people. They said the world respected only those who grabbed opportunities without fear. Raphael listened with excitement, ignoring the warning voice inside him. He did not ask questions. He did not care about consequences. He only saw results. Weeks passed, and nobody heard from him. Uloma called, but his phone was always switched off. Emenike sent messages, but there was no reply. Even Egodi did not know what he was doing. She wondered daily, but continued believing that something great was coming. She prayed loudly, declaring that Raphael would surprise everyone soon. Then suddenly, one hot afternoon, a loud call horn echoed across the village. Children playing on the dusty road stopped and stared. Women carrying vegetables paused. Men sitting outside their compounds stood up quickly. A long shiny vehicle entered slowly, reflecting sunlight like polished glass. Music blasted from its speakers, drawing more attention. When the car stopped near Egodi's compound, the door opened and Raphael stepped out wearing expensive clothes, dark sunglasses, sparkling wristwatch, and a wide smile. His shoes looked brand new. His perfume filled the air. He walked with confidence like someone who conquered the world. The village almost exploded with shock. People rushed toward him immediately. Some clapped, some screamed in disbelief. Others whispered, confused and amazed. Rumors spread like wildfire. Is that Raphael? Where did he get that car? Is he now rich? Maybe he won a lottery. Maybe an uncle helped him. Maybe he found a miracle. Nobody knew the truth, but everybody wanted answers. Egodi ran out of the house when she heard the noise. The moment she saw her son standing beside the luxury car, she screamed joyfully and lifted her hands towards the sky. She danced, rolled on the floor, laughed loudly, and hugged Raphael tightly. Tears of excitement poured from her eyes. She felt powerful again. She felt chosen again. She believed her shame had disappeared forever. Raphael removed bundles of money from his pocket and threw them into the air. Children jumped happily, picking notes from the dusty ground. Women collected their own share. Some thanked him, others prayed loudly. Men shook his hand firmly, promising friendship and loyalty. That day, Raphael became an overnight celebrity. Without wasting time, he rented a big house in the nearest town. He filled it with brand new furniture, television sets, air conditioners, fancy curtains, and modern kitchen appliances. The house looked like something in a movie. He decorated compound with bright lights and planted flowers along the walkway. He wanted everyone to know that he had arrived. Raphael began attending village gatherings with pride. He drove his car slowly so people could admire it properly. He wore different expensive outfits every time. He bought drinks for groups of men sitting outside. He tipped motorcyclists with large amounts. He gave some school children transport money. He visited shops and paid for strangers' groceries. Every move he made attracted attention. Villagers who once pitied him now chased him like honeybees following sugar. Women praised his mother loudly. Men saluted him with respect. Children followed him around, chanting his name. His presence changed conversations everywhere. Some people became jealous, but most people celebrated him. Egodi became even more proud than before. She bragged loudly that Raphael's success was bigger than Emenike's achievement. She said Destiny had finally corrected a mistake. She walked across the village road with her head raised high, swinging her handbag confidently. She called herself Mama Millionaire. She believed God had remembered her again. She told her neighbors that her second son was now richer than everyone in their community. She repeated the statement until people became tired of hearing it. She enjoyed the attention, and she did everything possible to remain in the spotlight. Meanwhile, Emenike continued struggling quietly. He still molded blocks under the hot sun. Dust covered his skin daily. Sweat soaked his clothes every hour. His palms were rough like sandpaper. His back ached constantly. His trousers had patches. His shoes were worn out. But he did not complain. He still greeted people respectfully. When Raphael drove past the construction site and saw his elder brother carrying sand, he slowed down his car, smiled, and shook his head proudly. Sometimes he honked loudly just to draw more attention. He wanted everyone to compare them. He wanted people to talk. He wanted his brother to feel inferior. On some days, Raphael stopped the car, rolled down the window, and said loudly, "So this is your life now." Other workers heard him and kept quiet, afraid of losing work. Emenike simply smiled weakly and continued with his task. He refused to respond because he did not want to fight. He still believed family mattered more than pride. Raphael expected him to beg for help, but Emenike never asked. He respected boundaries. He believed God would restore him eventually. He did not want to depend on someone who enjoyed humiliating him. Egodi encouraged Raphael's behavior. She laughed whenever he mocked his brother. She insulted Emenike too, calling him a man with empty hands. She told neighbors that she now had only one real son. She claimed Raphael was the true blessing in her household. She acted like Emenike never existed. Emenike heard everything but remained silent. He cried alone at night, asking God why the world suddenly turned against him. He wondered why his own mother hated him. He remembered the beautiful house he built for her, but she no longer mentioned it. She acted like it came from someone else. Her heart had changed completely. The saddest part was that Raphael did not feel guilty. He enjoyed his new position. He enjoyed seeing his brother suffer. He enjoyed hearing villagers compare them. He believed life finally gave him what he deserved. He convinced himself that Emenike's downfall was necessary for his own victory. Uloma watched the situation painfully. She tried talking to her mother, but Egodi dismissed her immediately. She begged Raphael to show compassion, but he ignored her, saying she did not understand success. Uloma felt alone, powerless, and disappointed. She prayed daily for peace, but things kept getting worse. People in the village began whispering again. Their happiness slowly turned into suspicion. They wondered how Raphael became rich so fast. They wondered what job he did. They wondered who helped him. They wondered if his money came from clean hands. However, nobody asked him directly because he looked intimidating. His tone had changed. His attitude had changed. His eyes carried something strange, something restless. But as long as wealth remained, villagers continued clapping. They valued money more than truth. They believed riches defined honor. They ignored warning signs and joined the celebration. Meanwhile, Emenike continued molding blocks every morning. He greeted strangers politely. He helped others without expecting reward. He carried pain inside his heart but refused to hate anyone. His humility remained untouched. He still prayed, even when it hurt. He still believed God would lift him someday. Life had officially turned upside down. The once celebrated brother became the village laborer. The former forgotten son returned as a sudden superstar. But overnight success often carries hidden shadows, and destiny always exposes secrets at the right time. For now, Raphael enjoyed every moment of attention, unaware that his shining season carried a heavy storm waiting quietly in the distance, coming closer day by day. One peaceful afternoon, while returning from work, he stopped near a small roadside shop to buy drinking water. There, he saw a young woman arranging vegetables on a wooden table. Her name was Chinwendu. She smiled gently at everyone who passed. Her voice was soft, her manners were humble, and her heart was kind. She greeted elders respectfully, helped children without complaining, and treated strangers like relatives. People loved her because she carried peace wherever she went. Emenike looked at her for a moment, trying not to stare too long. There was something warm in her eyes, something comforting, something pure. She noticed him standing there and greeted him politely. He replied shyly, thanking her for acknowledging him even though many villagers ignored him now. She did not treat him like a failure. She did not look at him with pity. She spoke to him like a human being deserving respect. After that day, they began greeting each other more often. Sometimes they met at the stream when she came to wash clothes. Sometimes their paths crossed at the market. Other times they saw each other near the church. Each time she smiled softly, and he felt lighter. She asked how he was doing, and he appreciated her concern. Her gentle words gave him strength to continue. Slowly, friendship began growing like a seed touched by rain. They did not rush anything. They took their time, learning little things about each other. He told her he once owned a business in the city. She listened carefully, without judgment. She told him about her dreams of owning a supermarket someday. He encouraged her, promising that God would make a way. They talked about life, family, faith, and the future. Their conversations felt natural, peaceful, and honest. People in the village noticed how they looked at each other, and whispers began. Some women smiled secretly, saying they would make a good couple. Some men nodded approvingly, believing Chinwendu was exactly the kind of woman Emenike needed. The news spread gently, like cool breeze. But while love grew silently between them, another story existed, hidden, unknown, and peaceful. For many years, Raphael had carried secret feelings for Chinwendu. Long before he traveled, long before he returned with sudden wealth, he admired her from afar. He loved her smile, her beauty, her kindness, her intelligence, and her calm nature. But he never gathered courage to approach her. He feared rejection. He feared embarrassment. He feared people laughing at him. So he kept his feelings inside, hoping time would help him. Even after becoming rich, Raphael still could not speak to her. He believed money alone was enough to impress her. He thought she would notice him automatically. He expected her to chase him. He thought every woman loved wealth. So he drove past her shop many times, playing loud music, smiling confidently, waiting for her to wave at him. But she never reacted because she was not interested in showmanship. Raphael became confused. He wondered why she never looked his way. He wondered why she did not admire his expensive clothes or flashy car. He wondered why she treated him the same way she treated every stranger. That confused him even the more. One day, while relaxing at a drinking spot with friends, he overheard two young men talking about Chinwendu and Emenike. They said they saw the two walking home together, laughing and talking like two people in love. Another person added that Chinwendu always packed extra food whenever she heard Emenike was walking nearby. Someone else mentioned that she prayed for him during youth fellowship in church. Raphael froze in shock. At first, he refused to believe it. He told himself that villagers were just spreading lies, but curiosity would not let him rest. The next morning, he drove slowly along the road leading to the construction site. He parked far away and waited. After some time, he saw Emenike carrying building blocks. A few minutes later, Chinwendu arrived with a food flask. She greeted the workers, walked straight to Emenike, and gave him food lovingly. Emenike thanked her with gratitude shining in his eyes. Raphael's heart burned instantly. His face tightened, his fists folded, and anger filled every part of his body. He could not breathe properly. He felt like the ground shifted. He felt cheated, betrayed, and insulted. He believed life was mocking him again. He said to himself, "So even love has chosen Emenike instead of me." He drove back home angrily, almost hitting people on the road. When he reached the compound, he jumped out of the car, slammed the door, and walked straight into the house. He found his mother resting on a chair. Without greeting her, he began shouting, "Mama, this must stop. It must stop today." Startled, Egodi stood up quickly, worried something terrible had happened. She asked what was wrong. Raphael paced across the room, breathing heavily, sweating and trembling. Suddenly he shouted again, "Chinwendu loves Emenike." Egodi's eyes widened immediately. She dropped the wrapper she was holding. She remembered Chinwendu, the polite girl who always greeted her respectfully. She thought she admired Raphael secretly. She never imagined she liked Emenike. Raphael continued shouting angrily. He said he had loved Chinwendu for a very long time. He said he wanted to marry her. He said she belongs to him, not his brother. He said life hated him and always gave Emenike everything. He asked why destiny was wicked toward him. His voice cracked with jealousy. Egodi's anger rose like hot oil on fire. She could not believe what she heard. She paced across the room, clapping her hands aggressively. She shouted, "Never! It will never happen. Everything good must stay with Raphael." She blamed the world again. She blamed fate. She blamed destiny. She blamed anyone except herself. She screamed loudly that Emenike had already enjoyed enough blessings. She said God should move him aside and allow Raphael to shine completely. She said Chinwendu choosing Emenike was an insult to her. She wondered why the universe continued favoring the firstborn. She called it wickedness. Raphael sat down, holding his head, crying quietly. His mother sat beside him and rubbed his back gently. But her words were full of poison. She promised to do anything, absolutely anything, to make sure Raphael won. She told him not to worry. She told him victory belonged to him. She told him that fate could be forced to change direction. She forgot that love cannot be stolen. Inside her mind, she began planning. She thought of ways to separate them. She thought of lies she could spread. She thought of insults she could throw. She thought of actions that could break hearts. She did not care about consequences. She believed her second son deserved happiness more than the first. Meanwhile, Emenike did not know anything about their discussion. He continued living his quiet life, believing he finally found something precious, a woman who saw beyond his struggle. For the first time since his downfall, he felt hope. Chinwendu became his sunshine in the middle of darkness. Her presence gave him peace, strength, and motivation to continue working. Chinwendu also felt safe with him. She admired his humility, kindness, peace, maturity, and faith. She liked that he never boasted even when he was rich. She liked that he remained humble even during suffering. She believed he carried a good heart. She prayed for him every night, asking God to restore him. Villagers who once mocked Emenike slowly changed their attitudes. They saw how Chinwendu stood by him. They noticed her loyalty. They began respecting him again. They said true love was stronger than money. They said Chinwendu carried wisdom. They believed God was planning something beautiful for them. But Raphael could not accept that truth. His jealousy became darker. He stopped sleeping well. He stopped eating properly. He stopped thinking clearly. He wanted Chinwendu by force. He believed money could solve everything. He believed wealth bought love. He believed he could win her easily if he tried harder. He bought expensive chocolates, perfumes, shoes, and dresses. He placed them in a decorated gift bag and drove to her shop. He smiled confidently and greeted her like a king. He told her he admired her beauty and wanted her to be his wife. He gave her the bag and expected her to fall instantly. Chinwendu looked at the gifts respectfully, thanked him politely, and returned everything gently. She told him she could not accept them. She told him she admired his confidence but did not love him. She told him her heart belonged to someone else. She did not mention Emenike's name because she did not want to hurt him further, but he already knew. Raphael's pride shattered. His smile disappeared. He felt embarrassed. People around the shop saw everything. Some covered their mouths, others stared silently. He felt like the ground was swallowing him. Without saying another word, he turned around, entered his car, and drove away quickly. That rejection fueled his rage even more. He stormed into the house again, shouting like a wounded animal. Igodi ran out immediately, worried something terrible happened. When he told her about the humiliation, she exploded. She cursed loudly, blaming Chinwendu, blaming fate, blaming Emenike. She said the girl was blind. She said she must be confused. She said someone bewitched her. From that moment, mother and son became united in bitterness. They agreed that Chinwendu must never marry Emenike. They believed destroying his happiness would restore Raphael's pride. They forgot love does not respond to threats. They forgot people are not objects. They forgot God sees every heart. Meanwhile, Emenike continued living peacefully, unaware of the storm forming against him. He smiled more often now because love warmed him. Chinwendu encouraged him daily, telling him that God had not forgotten him. She held his hand and reminded him to be strong. That support meant more than gold. But jealousy does not rest. It waits, gathers strength, and strikes when least expected. Raphael and Egud had already entered a deep darkness, one that would lead them to destruction if they refused to turn back. Love had chosen a path, but envy was preparing a battle, and that battle was only beginning. Time continued moving, and the love between Emenike and Chinwendu grew deeper every passing day. They supported each other through every struggle, every insult, and every disappointment. Their friendship became stronger, their bond became unbreakable, and their hearts agreed that they belonged to each other. They prayed about it, talked to trusted elders, and planned for a future built on peace, respect, patience, and faith. On bright Saturday morning, Emenike gathered courage and visited Chinwendu's parents officially. He went with two elderly men from the village and a small bag of farm produce to show respect. He knelt before her father and mother, greeted them respectfully, and explained his intentions. Even though he did not have wealth, he promised to love their daughter honestly. He promised to protect her, honor her, and build a peaceful home with her. Chinwendu's parents listened carefully, looked at each other, and smiled with understanding. They already knew how much their daughter loved him. They had watched them closely and believed God brought them together, so they gave their blessings happily. Not long after that visit, wedding preparations began. It was not extravagant or expensive. It was simple, warm, joyful, and full of sincerity. Women in Chinwendu's families pounded yam together while elderly men roasted meat outside. Young girls fetched water and washed plates. Children ran around excitedly, waiting to eat leftover food. Everyone was happy because they believed love was worth celebrating, not money. On the wedding day, Emenike wore a neat white shirt and clean trousers. Chinwendu looked stunning in a simple white wedding gown. Her smile alone could brighten darkness. When she walked into the church, everyone stood up to admire her beauty and grace. She did not wear heavy jewelry or expensive shoes, but she looked like a queen because happiness covered her like light. As they stood at the altar holding hands, Emenike felt tears gathering in his eyes. He never imagined someone would choose him in his lowest season. He thanked God quietly for bringing love into his pain. The pastor prayed over them, blessed their union, and declared them husband and wife. The congregation clapped loudly. Some shouted amen, others wiped tears. Their joy filled the building, and even the choir sang louder than usual. But two chairs remained empty, Egodi's and Raphael's. They refused to attend the wedding. While the rest of the church celebrated, Egodi stayed at home, pacing angrily around her compound, complaining loudly to herself. She said Chinwendu had bewitched Emenike. She said the marriage was nonsense. She said the girl wanted to enjoy free food without contributing anything. Raphael sat outside, scrolling through his phone, pretending not to care. But jealousy filled his chest like smoke trapped in a room. Meanwhile, the reception continued. People laughed, danced, toasted, and prayed for the new couple. Food and drinks were shared. Children enjoyed themselves. Friends congratulated the couple. The celebration felt complete, even without two important family members. Emenike tried not to think about their absence. He focused on his wife and smiled gratefully. Chinwendu also refused to allow bitterness spoil her special day. The next morning after the wedding, Chinwendu greeted Egodi respectfully, carrying a plate of food she cooked. Instead of thanking her, Egodi raised her voice and shouted, "Who sent you? Take that useless food away." Chinwendu froze in shock. Raphael laughed loudly behind his mother, shaking his head, pretending he had not seen anything wrong. Egodi continued insulting her. She called her wife of a poor man. She said Chinwendu chose suffering willingly. She said she would soon regret marrying a failure. Chinwendu stood quietly, holding back tears. She wanted to defend herself, but she respected elders, so she walked away calmly. From that day onward, insults became daily routine. Whenever Chinwendu walked to the market, some women laughed at her. Whenever she passed a group of men, they whispered mockingly. Whenever she knelt to greet her mother-in-law, Egodi hissed loudly and turned her face away. The humiliation became exhausting. Sometimes, Egodi insulted Emenike and his wife in front of strangers. She shouted, "Look at him. He once built houses in the city. Now he molds block for coins. And this girl followed him like a goat." Raphael enjoyed every moment. He joined the insult, saying Chinwendu was blind and foolish. He bragged that she rejected gold and married dust. He claimed she would soon come begging for his attention. Emenike heard everything. He tried ignoring them, but their words cut him deeply. His heart bled silently. He wondered how a mother could rejoice in her child's pain. He wondered how siblings could celebrate another's downfall. But he refused to return hatred. He held Chinwendu's hand daily, reminding her that storms do not last forever. Chinwendu comforted him, assuring him that she did not marry money. She married character. She admired his humility, his kindness, his honesty, and his strength. She reminded him that true love shines brightest in the darkness. Her courage helped him wake up every morning and continued molding blocks to fit their home. In the midst of humiliation, one person remained consistent: Oloma. Living far away in the city, she called her brother and his wife every week. She asked if they had eaten, if they had clothes, if they had soap, if they needed anything. She never judged or questioned them. She never reminded them of what they once had. She simply helped generously from her heart. She sent food items through transport: rice, beans, noodles, oil, salt, tomatoes, seasoning cubes, and yam. She bought shirts for Emenike and wrappers for Chinwendu. She wired small amounts of money to help with bills. She never announced her kindness. She never demanded thanks. She just loved them quietly. Whenever she visited the village, she hugged Chinwendu warmly and ignored the gossiping eyes around them. She entered their house, sat comfortably, ate food joyfully, and laughed freely. She treated the couple like royalty, even though others treated them like beggars. Her presence always brought peace, comfort, and a fresh breath of hope. Meanwhile, villagers grew uncomfortable with the continued insults. Some believed Egozi's behavior was strange. They questioned how a mother could treat her own son like trash. They wondered why she supported humiliation instead of reconciliation. Some women began avoiding her because they feared her bitterness. But most people kept silent, afraid of becoming next gossip subject. Still, Raphael and Egodi felt powerful. They walked around proudly, believing life had favored them. They believed Emenike deserved suffering. They believed God approved their actions. They believed wealth made them superior. Their hearts became darker each day. Even church did not soften them. When Emenike and Chinwendu attended Sunday service, some people welcomed them warmly, but others looked away. During testimonies, if someone mentioned kindness, Egodi rolled her eyes loudly. If marriage was discussed, she made mocking sounds. Chinwendu tried focusing on prayers, but shame followed her everywhere. Despite all this, love remained strong in the couple's home. They talked every night, holding hands, encouraging each other. They prayed together, asking God for mercy, strength, and restoration. They reminded themselves that patience always wins. They agreed never to respond with anger, no matter how bad the insults become. As weeks turned into months, their marriage became a testimony of endurance. They learned to smile even when mocked. They learned to rise even after failing. They learned to trust God more than people. Their relationship grew even deeper because hardship taught them unity. But pain always built something dangerous inside silence. And in the shadows, destiny continued preparing a bigger revelation, one that would shake the entire village, expose hidden secrets, and remind everyone that life does not end at suffering. For now, Emenike and Chinwendu endured humiliation with grace, unaware that their story was about to change again.